Good afternoon, everyone. This is Lady Dragon speaking. It's Sunday, January 26th. It's 3:53 p.m. We have 8 keynotes left. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do it all tonight, but I'll do a bunch. Now we're going to have Samsung and speakers of Samsung and Qualcomm. Should be very interesting. There we go.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Storyteller Stage. I'm Nagin Elazari, an agent at United Talent Agency, and I will be your MC for today's session. For our final day, we have 3 exciting CMO sessions lined up, covering topics from AI-driven creativity to personalized advertising strategies. Our first session starts now. We will hear how AI is being used to shape innovative marketing strategies. Here to guide that conversation is CTA's very own Melissa Harrison. Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. How are we doing? We made it to day 3. So exciting, Thursday morning. Hopefully everybody's got a little coffee. Excited to dive in with us. I am thrilled. I think that I get one of the best panels today because we've been having some conversations, and I think you're in for a real treat. So first, I want to introduce the folks joining me on stage today. Next to me is Don McGuire, the CMO of Qualcomm. Next to him is Mark Penn, the CEO and chairman of Stagwell. And over here is Lori Good, the CMO of Index Exchange. And last but not least is Allison Stransky, the CMO of Samsung Electronics America. And I think that this is a pretty stellar panel. I'm excited. Are you guys ready to dive in?
Yes.
We are ready.
All right, I love it. So we're going to talk quite a bit about AI and modern marketing today. So I thought we would just start with each one of you giving some thoughts on what the role of AI is in shaping our strategies. So Don, do you want to kick it off?
Sure. You know, it's almost like right now it seems like there's the enterprises or the CMOs or the leaders within the enterprises that have embraced the technology inflection point. They're figuring out how to leverage the technology in various ways, and they're kind of moving on and using it and then getting results. And whether it's through experimentation or trial, or actually broad deployment. And then there's the people that are frozen. Right. And so that's what kind of I've seen as I've traveled around and talked with some of my peer set. So we're kind of on the rabbit side of the equation. But I think if you don't unfreeze yourself quickly, you know, there's going to be a learning curve disadvantage, and you're kind of going to be left behind. Yeah.
Other thoughts?
Well, you know, I think the question always with technology is, am I working for the technology or is the technology working for me, right? And I think it's important that, you know, AI has taken on sort of an almost godlike persona, right, as the cure-all and the do-all. And the truth of the matter is, I think that it can be a tremendous creative aid. It can be a tremendous both supplement in terms of coming up with ideas. It can be, I think, tremendously useful in terms of generating images at a lower cost. And therefore, there's no question that it's going to have a role or fill a purpose that didn't exist before. But I don't think that's going to dislodge the central role of human creativity. In fact, it will make it even, I think, more valuable because it will be harder and harder to differentiate if everybody has the same, you know, image that's created by the same data set. So I think that's what we're seeing, and I think people are beginning, I think, as you said, we're going from they're building chips to this cloud to begin to get the applications and begin to get the apps and beginning to get the experimental uses.
Yeah. Lori, what do you think?
Yeah, I think I see it as also as a continuum. You know, when you talk about the rabbit side of the equation, or people who are just starting to dive in and learn a little bit more about what AI can offer you, AI is not necessarily new. I think, you know, if you consider the subset of machine learning or any other kind of application that allows us to do things programmatically using really large data sets, it's been around for a long time. I think the new part of what we're all excited about is generative AI and a lot of the new tools, platforms, software that's coming online to help us increase efficiency, use it for collaboration purposes to expand our creative, and I think ultimately to deliver better experiences for consumers at a scale that we weren't able to get to before, much more agilely and much quicker than we were in the past. So I think it represents a huge opportunity and will fundamentally reshape how we do marketing, how we think about doing marketing, leveraging the new tools that we have available. But I do think that it's going to take time, and I think we'll discover new use cases as the technology continues to advance and as, you know, regulation continues to come in, best practices and standards. And I guess the other thing I would say is that if you look at this week in aggregate, you look at the number of topics, panels, discussions that are relevant to AI and have been for the past year, it is indicative of the fact that we are all still on the beginning of the journey. Even if you're using AI in advanced applications today, and you're progressed far down the path, there's so much to learn still from each other and learning about these new use cases that I think help all of us get better at the same time.
Yeah, Allison?
Yeah, thank you. We're excited about AI because we also feel like there's this tipping point that we've reached at Samsung, especially where we are using AI in our marketing as well as marketing AI as a solution for our consumers. So I love the double hat. And to us, AI is this tool, it's this enabler. I agree with everything everyone else has said, is that it is going to increase productivity, enhance efficiencies, and in the marketing space, I'm optimistic that we are finally going to achieve a vision of personalization at scale that is really meaningful because of the advancements in Gen AI getting the creative part, which is always the hardest to scale. This could be the year that we crack that nut. But then at home, we're going to see AI on all of your mobile devices. It's coming to your TV, to your kitchen. We've also reached this really great tipping point in our consumer electronics space that AI is accessible. So it's not just a professional tool, it is a lifestyle enhancement tool as well.
Yeah, I think we'll spend some more time kind of on that personalization conversation, but I think we're lucky that we have a group of panelists here who are all not in the frozen state, but actually on the other end of that continuum. So I'd like to know sort of what are the innovative ways that you're currently using AI, and how does it come into play with enhancing customer experiences or driving engagement? And Lori, why don't we start with you?
Sure. So I'm the CMO of Index Exchange. It's a sell-side platform in the programmatic advertising space. And so when I spoke about AI not necessarily being that new to us in the subset of machine learning has been used in programmatic for many years, as long as it's existed. And we support and serve media owners. So think about the traditional web publishers across the internet, streaming broadcasters, mobile app, and we see pretty much the entirety of the internet. We operate at a massive scale. So we see nearly 500 billion requests a day for transaction. And
is that with a B?
Billion. I feel like I should do this. 500 billion, and to put that into perspective, it's 600 times more than Visa processes in a day. And so that we have this massive scale of data that we have, and the important thing is how do we shape and curate the amount of traffic that we see from these large pipes in order to deliver the best, most perfect opportunity for a brand or a marketer to reach the consumer at the right time that they need. Right. And so from a machine learning perspective, I would say the biggest thing that we're doing as a company is really investing in our AI technology to help with predictive modeling, to take all of these data inputs and to bucket them into cohorts to discover patterns, and then to really smartly deploy this so that it's really efficient from a compute perspective, it's efficient for our brand partners and marketers and buyers, and that we are able to then match at scale across any device or screen exactly what a consumer needs to see.
And
at
from
the right
an ad
price.
spend perspective, for those of us on the other side,
Yes.
it makes it more efficient, and you're meeting your audience where they are with a personalized message.
And the other thing I would say about the audience too is I think for so long marketers are kind of stuck in this pre-described or or predefined notion of who their audience actually is. And I think leveraging real-time data signals, you actually can discover people who may be in market that you didn't consider to be in market, or maybe they've just purchased something and in real time we can take them out of the segment. So it's much more efficient and much more personalized to the consumer that helps the brand's dollars go further.
Yeah, does anybody else want to jump in on innovative ways you're using AI?
Sure. I mean, I think that AI is really embedded across the divisions of Stagwell. Part of what we do is we have a series of self-service tools. So, for example, in the communication space, generative AI will help you write the news release. Then it will pick out all those people who are likely to cover it favorably. Then it will write all the pitches to those folks. And so it takes, that's an activity that might have taken somebody all day.
Right.
It could be reduced to a fraction of that. Same thing in research now, in terms of processing and analyzing focus group and open-ended coding. Same thing in the media. We're replacing $5 or $6 billion of media. We have your location data. We have about 50,000 interviews done a day. We have an ID graph, and we have AI now that's going to really refine the targeting on that. And then same thing in terms of the management of millions of pieces of content, right? So in partnership with Adobe, we're building kind of an AI-based tool for managing the content, making sure it's all brand standard, evaluating the right content for the right potential customer. So I think you really see it infused through all the various steps in our marketing efforts.
And how has staff adopted these new tools? Has it been an easy transition for them to learn and pick up?
The move to new technology is never an easy transition in my view. It's like nobody wanted to get rid of their BlackBerries.
Oh, well, they were great. I mean, BlackBerry Messenger.
Nobody wanted to use, nobody wanted to use even ATMs back in the day. So look, I understand the transition. Part of what we do is we have a central innovation group that manages that process, because I felt in too many of the holding companies, they kind of did all this innovation piecemeal.
Right.
Right. And so they didn't have a central repository of what everybody's doing, how the experiments are working, how you can deploy and train on it.
Yeah.
So I never say that people just flock to new technology like they should, but I think we have an effective method for experimentation, application, and training.
Interesting. Go ahead.
Yeah, we've had an interesting experience with a couple tools. One of the tools that we've deployed now, at scale, is Writer, and we started out with sort of creating these super users. So once we got Writer through our steering committee, and it was kind of rubber stamped by all the different stakeholders.
Did you identify them, or did they self-identify, the super users?
The super users, it was a combination.
Okay.
So there was definitely pull demand, and then we suggested it to certain functions and certain people. Right. And then once we built super users, the super users created FOMO, and then all of a sudden we had a massive amount of pull, and now we're at 350 people using Writer on a daily and weekly basis.
Wow.
It's been a really successful deployment of a tool that, within the creative process, right, is really, really helpful from an ideation perspective, copy development perspective. We're managing over 1,200 trademark terms in the data set, and we're saving 2,400 hours a month.
Wow.
From a productivity standpoint across my organization by deploying Writer at scale. So it's pretty incredible to see the results.
How big is the learning curve?
Well, it depends on the tool.
Yeah.
Some tools are made more intuitive than others, right? One of the things that again I like about Writer is its user interface is very intuitive. It's got a Chrome plugin. It's enterprise grade, enterprise ready. So it was very easy to get the tool through kind of our process of deployment, and then users have been able to adopt it very easily. So it's not something that's been difficult for people to adopt.
Allison, one of the things we talked about backstage was just how much it's changed, because now every consumer has everything they need, either in their hand and their device, or any of the products that you just talked about in your home. How has this changed your approach with AI and marketing?
AI is an interesting concept to market. We talk about it was like 5G when 5G came along. How do you talk about something that's going to make everything better, but you can't see it?
You can't touch it, like you can't feel it.
Touch it. It's not on the floor in our booth, but it is, because it's like also
because it's everywhere.
That's my challenge every day.
Yeah.
So that is, I think that is the new tech marketer's dilemma, is how do you bring this to life? So for us, it's the philosophy that AI is going to make things better. So your benefits are superlative. And how does it make it better? It's more personalized. It's more relevant to you, because I think we've seen an improvement in ads getting more personalized back from the days of like, all I knew about you is you liked this linear TV show.
Right.
So we've come a very, very long way. But now, because there's so many uses for AI, we need to make sure that we are bringing that particular use to you at the right time to really get the most relevance out of it. So we've been talking about a lot of the features that we've announced that are coming this year. And what is also fascinating to me is the simplicity to the complexity. There's a huge scale in what AI is going to deliver. We're hearing so much interest from things that are very simple, accessible solutions. For example, we know that 65% of people report that they don't get enough sleep. And through our wearables and tracking, you're getting much more significant and useful insights powered by AI. The next step is to bring in a level of connectivity through our SmartThings app. Your Ring can measure how you are sleeping. Your thermostat can adjust the temperature in the middle of the night because it sees that you're running warm at 2 o'clock in the morning. And these things are just automated and take so much work and trial and error out of it. But that is, wait, AI is going to help me sleep better is kind of the takeaway, the journey that we're bringing you on, and that's the end result that you can relate to. And I know, I think I'm in the 65%. I would love a better night's sleep.
Especially this week.
Oh yeah, hot every morning. And I was like, well, if I was connected to my room. And it's actually funny, we do have a lot of, it's not just consumer at home. There's so many B2B solutions.
Right.
We do actually, through SmartThings Pro, we're enabling you to create customized and personalized hotel settings. You're going to walk into your hotel room in the future, and it's going to recognize how you like the temperature versus how I like the temperature. And all of this just becomes so seamless that I hope we're all going to free up time and brain capacity to do things that are better and more important.
Yeah, that's incredible. I think the seamless integration is where everybody wants to get to. I know that this would not be an AI conversation if we didn't talk a little bit about data and privacy. So, you know, Mark, we had a conversation around, you know, that approaching data and privacy is really different between a device-based privacy issue versus cloud-based. You know, what advice do you give the audience for sort of tackling these types of issues?
Well, look, I don't think that the regulatory approach to data and privacy fits what people really believe and what would really work best for an efficient marketing system. So, look, I think right now there is a multi-layered regulatory framework that you know, every company has to observe. I think in reality, consumers don't care all that much about whether they bought a shoe or had a hamburger. They care about their health care, they care about their text messages, and unfortunately, there's no differentiation between routine data that would make it much cheaper and more affordable to get people an ad about something they like, and true intrusion on their privacy. And until we have a system that kind of does that differentiation, I did an article last year called like How to Save $1 Billion Hours, right? And one of the first ways to save $1 billion is that you don't have to print accept to every single website that you visit all day long and waste, like, you know, you could pick up all that time if you could just file, hey, it's okay for this data, but not okay for that data, and create and so that people could create a zone of privacy for themselves and a zone where they're okay with sharing. Because remember, if you're a shoe company out there and you want to reach somebody with shoes, you're going to be blocked out of the marketplace in competition if everyone blocks their data. And I don't think that anybody has really explained that to the consumer marketplace.
For the others on the panel, I also think we're seeing a difference in generational gaps, right? So I think Gen Z is probably more willing to click OK because they understand the personalization that's going to come in return. Are you seeing the same thing?
Yeah, and it's not only generational; it's regional.
Okay.
Right. I mean, if you look at China, if you look at the rest of Southeast Asia, India, the adoption, especially since those populations tend to be younger in some cases, the fear factor of AI is just not there, right? and as there is, it tends to be in the U.S. and Europe, right? And so you see generational and you see regional differences in that willingness, right? And data privacy obviously means different things in different countries based on regulations and laws. China, there's not a lot of data privacy,
lack thereof,
right? Or the lack thereof. So it's just a different perspective. So so you've removed that barrier. In some cases, so people are just like, whatever, right? I do everything on this device. I do my banking, I do my healthcare. So sure, bring it on. And then you have the fear factor on the other side. But to Mark's point, it's like, if when AI becomes truly agentic and anticipatory and suggestive, and working in the background to understand your needs, because you've decided what data and information you are going to give it access to. Then I think some of these concerns go away, and because you are in control. Humans have to be in control at the end of the day. So, if the systems and the architectures and the data sets allow humans to choose, right? Like Mark said, hamburger, okay, right? Text messages, no. Then you set it up and you let it go, right? And then it becomes truly helpful. Right.
Now I want to see your text messages.
I do think, if you think back to, if you've been in the industry for a while and you remember when ad choices first launched and all of the consumer privacy first started to crop up, I remember talking to the vendor who was doing ad choices when it first launched, which was the ability to opt out as a consumer of targeted behavioral advertising. And he told me, I was like, how's it going? What's the opt-out rate? It was I always have to count my fingers, 0.00004% of users would actually go into the system and opt out of behavioral advertising. And so I think sometimes the consumer voice and feedback differs from the actual implementation, how they behave, and removing information about their data or not providing that data. And I think if you're talking about generational, I don't necessarily think it's generational either, but I do think we've shifted to more of this on-demand economy where, back in the day, maybe page load was an issue, but it's not now. And if I want to see content, I want to see it now. If I want to buy something, I want to buy it now. And some of the opt-outs are, accepting the cookies. It's kind of a joke. It's a little bit of a barrier to entry. People will do it very quickly because they're there for something. They're spear phishing. And so I think, while we do see that there is more value exchange, and I think we can prove that there's a better experience for consumers waiting on the other side if they allow access to some of this behavioral data, I think it's a win-win for everybody. It's a better consumer experience. They get what they want when they want it, but also marketers have that good insight and can deliver great experiences for those consumers.
Yeah, to add to that, we're taking privacy seriously in so many ways because you're logged into all of your devices. So here at CES, we were announcing advancements that we have in our Knox platform, Knox Vault, because there's this you're logged in not just to your phone, you're logged into your TV, you're logged into your refrigerator, your washer. It's critical to us that we keep your identity and all of that safe, so that we're taking very seriously as a responsibility. But then on top of that, as marketers and in the business space, very much aligned to what Mark said, like I'm interested in knowing your interests so that I can reach you more relevantly. So the big data team at Samsung sits within my org and double hats in that, yes, I'm keeping all of your data and information safe, but I'm also helping the marketing teams use it more effectively and relevantly, because when you look across our range of products, different audiences, different needs, different life stages. If I'm going off to college and I'm looking for a laptop, I'm definitely not in market for a full-size refrigerator. And it's my responsibility to not try to push a refrigerator on you if you need a laptop. And that's kind of the essence of how we're using data. And it's, I'm happy that consumers are coming along and that Gen Z is like, yeah, no, I value seeing things that I'm interested in learning more about in my ads. So yes, I drop my cookie. It's only going to make it better.
And the technology is there. I mean, from on-device to on-prem, right? Not everything has to go to the cloud. So it is it's not a rocket scientist project to protect people's information or to have people be able to protect their IP, whatever that might be. If they're a creator or whatever that might be, because you can do 100 billion parameters on device today, right? A year ago, that was 30 billion. So the exponential, evolution of the technology is enabling, brands like Samsung or companies like Qualcomm through our Snapdragon platform, to give the ecosystems the ability to give consumers or users that peace of mind, right? That confidence that whatever they're doing, that their data is safe, it's private, it's personalized, it's relevant. So it's not like it's just a free-for-all out there.
Right.
And so it's really incumbent upon the ecosystems of app developers and or LLM creators to understand the parameters of the technology and how it can work and the hybrid nature of it, and then deploy accordingly.
You mentioned content creators, which I think fits into our next category, which is as marketers, as communicators, I think there's an innate feeling and fear of what will AI be able to do and will I be replaced by it? And my personal opinion is I always say no, because I think humans are innately creative in a way that AI will not be able, and it does have to be a digital coexistence between the two. Do you guys agree, disagree?
Well, first of all, I don't know any CMO that I've spoken to that says, I'm over-resourced.
That is
I have everybody
correct.
I need.
Anybody out here say that
Anybody
they're
over-resourced out there?
I see zero hands.
Like, the world moves at the speed of TikTok. How do we keep up with that?
Right.
I mean, I could hire 500 more people and still not keep up with the world that I have to keep up with. The content cycles, right? It's not a 24-hour news cycle. It's a 24-second news cycle. So AI is going to be so helpful just helping us catch up, where I don't think we have to worry about job loss. Right? I think we have to worry about integration, about how we use these tools, about protecting our IP, right? There has to be human on the input, on the front end, human on the back end. Right. There has to be editorial, sort of oversight to what these tools are helping you do in the ideation process. Because at the end of the day, you want to own your IP, and it's not going to be ownable unless you put your unique stamp on it.
That's right.
As a human or as an enterprise or an organization. So that's kind of how I see it and how we're looking at it. But it's our skill set's going to need to change? Yes. Is upskilling going to be required? Yes. So you're going to be looking for new people. I'm building out a creative studio, for example, in Mexico City. I'm looking for people who have experience with some of these tools already, or that are trainable, right? As I deploy Firefly across my organization and things like that. So I'm looking for different things now, but I'm still hiring people. I still need these people. Right.
Yeah, I mean, echoing that comment, I think you have to think of technology as an endless ladder up, right? And every time you climb one rung of the ladder, another rung appears. And so, sure, when movies added talking, certain actors or actresses lost their jobs, but then a whole new group of actors and actresses was born. And so every stage here where we've seen, from radio to TV to the internet, look, now we're going to move to really agentic AI, and I think every company is going to have to craft an agent and a personality and all new kinds of content now that are going to really create new kinds of jobs, right? And sure, might something get more efficient, but the standard that you have to achieve, just think of the movies, right? When you had Star Wars and people realized, oh, there's a whole new kind of movie. So then everybody didn't say, oh, now I can make black and white movies easily. They did to Pixar, and now the standard of what you have to achieve to make a movie and what it takes is infinitely more expensive and bigger. Take a look at the Sphere out here, right? As a really coming together of digital creativity that costs billions of dollars and cost thousands and created thousands of jobs. So to kind of echo that point, you're going to transfer into new jobs, new tasks, new skills, but we don't stop. We keep moving forward. And that's why technology is exciting.
I'm also optimistic that younger generations are recognizing that already and are exploring and understanding things like AI from a much younger age. At Samsung, we run a program called Solve for Tomorrow. It's a STEM competition for middle school and high school students where the brief is simply use STEM to solve an issue in your community. And we're 15 years in, and in the last 15 years, we've seen a huge advancement in the things that they're solving and the technology that they're using. In the early years, you're testing pH balances in local streams. Last year's winner was a team of girls from Princeton High School who built an AI chatbot to preserve indigenous languages. And although the intention was to preserve language, they also explained how it is just as simple to use as a tool to learn French, Spanish, German, anything. They're in high school.
Right, right.
And they're not the only ones. There's so many more out there that I think when you get this curiosity and interest so much earlier, I'm very optimistic that they're going to be bringing solutions and creating new jobs and evolution that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, I think it's, I agree with everything that's been said in that I do think in some cases, roles will fundamentally change, maybe in all of the cases. And so if you're not leaning in some way and learning and growing and anticipating how your role might evolve or change, or the areas of focus that are going to be redundant or replaced, should be replaced by AI because they could be more efficiently done at scale, I think it's a problem if you're not thinking that way yet. And so I think marketers should be thinking through how their role might evolve. And I would advise even to bring to the table, to bring to your organization the ways that you want it to evolve, how you foresee the change being made and where you could be more efficient, where you could be more creative, and where some of the new skill sets might come in. Because the roles will evolve. We are absolutely under-resourced. I think we will always feel that way. And so where are we using AI to help accelerate what the teams are doing and learning?
Right.
I think one of the very interesting things as you think about this over time is, how does org design change? What are the skill sets that you'll end up needing on your team? And then how do you divide and organize your team in such a way that you're maximizing the impact that you can have with AI? I think that's going to be an interesting evolution of marketing in general.
I think there's just there's a fear of the unknown, right? And so I think the more that we can have open, honest conversations as marketers and teams together about what's working, what's not working. Don, you actually talked about, you have a really unique approach and that I think would be helpful for the audience of how you're bringing on new products, how you're testing them, how you're deploying them, and just how you're looking at also protecting your IP.
Yeah, sure. So we really early on, and we're in the same position as Allison, right? So we've been researching, developing, commercializing AI for 14 years.
Right.
And then I'm also an enterprise CEO that has to or CMO who has to now figure out how to deploy AI tools in my organization. So it's two hats.
Right.
So we early on decided that we were going to get all key stakeholders who were, either nervous about AI or aggressively pursuing tool sets
early
to help
adopters that we love.
And we formed a steering committee made up of legal, of course. Legal is always part of the steering committee.
We love lawyers.
IT, obviously, IT is super important because of of the risk of cyber attacks and things like that. And then stakeholders who are going to be user groups like finance and marketing and HR and et cetera, et cetera. And a tool comes into the process. It is vetted across all the vectors from how is it trained and the legal, sort of criteria that the legal team has developed to, from an IT safety perspective and security perspective. And it goes through those gates. And if it pops out on the other side, it can either be deployed in trial mode or experimental mode, or broadly if it's been kind of rubber stamped or approved. And that's where we bring every tool through that process, whether it's a marketing tool or a coding tool for our engineers. So we've deployed probably about 12 AI tools from chatbots, both homegrown, so only trained on Qualcomm data, to externally trained chatbots. We've brought in GitHub for coding. We've created our own coding tool for our engineers, and we've brought in tools like Writer and Firefly and Olympic, right, from a data science perspective. So it's working quite well. It's helping to accelerate getting to trial, which has really been nice.
Right.
So we're not getting bogged down in a bureaucratic process.
Right.
And then with every use case and every success that we can feed back into the process from a results perspective, it's building more confidence across the organization. Writer started out as a marketing tool. We're the ones who brought it in. It's now being used across 5 departments.
Wow.
Within Qualcomm.
Okay.
So that's kind of how this, how this kind of momentum gets built, and then how you can move forward. It's not really a rocket science type of
right, but it does take the fear of the unknown out of it. Right.
The fear of it, and it takes people really sitting down and commit. Everybody has to go through AI training at Qualcomm. There's a set of principles that we've developed, and then everyone has to go through tool training, right, as well. So it's you got to want to participate and follow the steps. But once you've done that, you're good to go.
from a training perspective, do you bring in outside experts? Do you have your internal folks who are your super users also help with the training? What have you found to be successful?
Well, one of the criteria of deployment of the tool itself is what type of training sort of does the tool have itself for the users. Again, I like singing writers' praises because it's such an amazing tool, but they have an amazing training program. They do coffee talks every week. They have open office hours. People can ask questions. They have people that are ready to help as people learn how to use the tool. And then yes, we have our super users, kind of train the trainer type of environment as well. And again, if it's intuitive and if it was built with these people in mind and what they have to do every day, we found it easier to deploy than if it's something that's super foreign to people. So
that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so with the couple of minutes that we have left, I always like to end with some rapid fire. So we'll try to keep this to like one or a couple of words. I want to ask each of you to tell me, do you believe AI will eventually become a core competency for all marketers? Allison, we'll start with you.
Yes.
Yes.
Sure.
Sure.
Yes.
Excellent. Should companies prioritize AI-driven tools over traditional marketing methods?
Yes. For me, yes.
Well, for now.
Yeah.
For now.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to ask you to expand on that.
Okay. Well,
When?
Well, for now, because you've got to integrate AI, but there's always going to be the next thing. There's going to be another type
There's
of
gonna be
AI.
another thing.
Quantum. Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Lori?
This is a very confusing question. Only that I think that the essence of what marketing is trying to do needs to stay in place. What you're trying to achieve, AI can help accelerate that.
Right.
So to
Okay.
prioritize
One over the
tools
other.
and software over that, it's to help you achieve that goal, not a prioritization over the
Okay.
goals.
Okay. Do you agree with Lori?
Yeah, I'm going to go to 3. I'll say what she said.
Okay. Totally fine.
Which is why, by the way, which was how I took the question too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Totally
It's not like stop
like,
doing
wait a
everything
minute.
else.
Right.
Just do AI. you know?
Right. Okay, if you could use one word to describe the future of marketing in the AI-driven era, what would it be and why? I'll give you a couple extra words on this one.
The future
Yeah.
of AI in the marketing era?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I kind of believe, and this is maybe a little bit broader of a comment, but that AI is quickly becoming the new UI. And that's a big thought. And what does that really mean and how does that manifest itself? It's going to be super interesting to watch because that will impact how you engage with your consumer, with your audience, with your user. Today, it's a very in and out, linear-driven, app-based world that we all live in.
Right.
AI will change that, and lines will be blurred. Things will be integrated and mixed, and become more suggestive, anticipatory, and easy. So it's going to be interesting, and that is the nature of what we're trying to do when we're out there selling our products.
Yeah.
So my thought is AI is the new UI.
I love it. Anyone else?
Sure. I mean, look, I think it'd be engaging. I mean, it should be magnificently engaging. I think the point of this is to be personal, to enable you to communicate with technology and receive responses that are like communicating with a person and communicating with a person who knows something about you that you're comfortable corresponding or communicating with. And if we achieve that through this marketing, you'll have ultimately the most engaging and interesting marketing in the history of marketing.
That's great.
I think similar personalization, I think, is the one for me.
Yeah.
Very similar to Mark's answer, but it's really about people are developing relationships with these AI technologies and platforms, and I think if brands can deliver great experiences for consumers that are catered to them in a two-way relationship, I think it's the future's personalization.
Allison, you have the last word today.
I liked all of that. So to just summarize, I guess I'm just going to go with better. It's just going to get better.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, I know we could stay up here probably all day, but they're going to kick us off stage at some point in time. So would you please join me in thanking Dawn, Mark, Lori, and Allison for this engaging conversation this morning. Thank you very much.
Well, These are very interesting keynotes. Okay, I'll come back in 5 minutes with more keynotes.